It says live, but I haven't seen the comments come in yet.
I didn't even check.
Oh, there they go. Yeah.
Good.
See, I get a timer that says when I've gone live, and it starts counting, but then eventually the comments from the chat pop up, so I can insert those if I want. Anyway, TikTok, time to rock.
Shalom.
How's it going, everyone? Hey, yo, we have to do something at some point discussing, like anti-Semitism, man. So I posted like a 2 or 3 minute video by Michael Brown, just because he's like the main messianic Jewish guy in the world, and we were at a conference together, and I just pointed a camera at him. I said, "Hey, could you talk about, with all the stuff going on in the world, can you talk about, how we can love our Jewish friends and neighbors?" So he gave this just nice, hey, get to know them and stuff like that. People lost their minds, man. People lost their minds. I'm shocked by that, right? If people complain about Israel or the Palestinians, I get it. But if you can't even say, hey, we should love the people around us. We should love the Muslims around us. We should love the Jews around us. We should love, the atheists around us. We should love the people around us or something like that. If you can't say it about that one group, then some people got some problems, man. Anyway.
Let's be nice to Jews. No, how can you say that?
No. Do you know what the Talmud says? No, and neither do most of the Jews you'll ever meet in your life. So
Yeah.
It's just weird to say, this Jew said this Jewish rabbi said such and such in the 7th century, and I'm holding all Jews accountable today. That's some weird reasoning. Anyway, have to do some stuff on that. All right, so everyone, those of you in the chat here, I'm going to start looking at the chat real quick here. We're going to go live for about an hour because we're getting off, because then at 9:30 Eastern time, we are over on Zoom with a supporter hangout. So people who support us on Patreon or other sites, we're going to go live with them, and it's on Zoom, so we can kind of see the people who we're talking to. So if you're one of those people who's going to be on with us at 9:30, you should download Zoom. It's free, and it's very quick. But for this next hour, we're going to talk about the issue that we brought up in our videos earlier today. I'd like to ask those of you in the chat, how many of you saw either one or both of the videos that AP and I posted earlier today on the same topic? Just trying to get a little check here of how many people, go to the live stream, but also watch the videos. Hey, what is this? Oh, go ahead.
How many people have seen the videos that David and I posted about Muhammad being a creep?
Which one? That's like half your videos, AP.
That's true.
Ash said, hey, David, you helped save my life, dude. Thank you. What, were you in like a burning building and I ran up in there?
That's what it sounds like.
All right, let me scroll through these chats, see what people are saying here.
Where's the poll for which video we liked most? Saw both.
We can make polls. We can make polls on the messages that you send on YouTube, that you send out to your fans. Messages you can share. Yeah, that's cool.
I'll win anyway. So.
All right, let's check these comments. Let me see. D to the Will said he watched both. Marcus said he saw both. Cultural Christian Atheist said he saw Biff. I'm assuming he meant both. Tippy Bear. I don't know if that's some cool new internet slang or something like that, or just a typo probably. Tippy Bear said both. Candace said both. Greg said both.
Candace
Petrus,
said, I'm sorry, AP, but David's video was better.
Did she?
Kick these people out?
Yeah, you're banned. Wink. All right, no, there's a bunch of people now, so I'll quit posting. Actually, let me see if I go through this quickly. Hayden says both for me. Oh, Winged Panther says David's was better. Oh man, Winged Panther. Hey, Come on, AP. It's hard to mess with the king, man. It's hard to mess with the king. I was making videos, and you're when you were still smelling like Similac, man.
Yeah. You were making videos when I was still praying to Allah.
No,
and sending greetings and love to Muhammad.
I think there must be a matter of taste preference here, because people obviously love you because you are growing way faster than I ever did. I mean, it took years and years and years to get to where you got to in like 5-6 months. So we are trying to. I will figure out that recipe, and I will incorporate it into my own strategy, and then put you out of business.
I think that's just because I have been so blunt with all of this, and many people don't want to do that. You know, they for many reasons they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I just didn't really care, and I just said whatever I wanted at the beginning. So.
You also have some additional credibility in that you're ex-Muslim, so a lot of people will be more interested in hearing you, just as they were more interested in hearing. A lot of people were more interested in hearing from Nabil on Islam than they were interested in hearing from me.
Well, I have to say, David, you were from the beginning. Your channel was from the beginning. I think my favorite anti-Islam channel, and I'm not saying this because we are friends. I'm honestly saying this because I saw a thing like you don't hold back, but you are also fair. You know, and that's what I always appreciated about your channel. And yeah.
And you know it's really cool. Like I've seen like people who. I've seen like Christian apologists and stuff who they once they start getting on in years and new people start coming along, they start getting kind of like antsy and start trying to hold on to their position. Whereas like I'm looking forward to it, right? I'm looking forward to us being the trailblazers, and then once we're older, a younger generation coming along who. Because I didn't start really studying this stuff really until I was like I don't know 25, 26, something like that. So I didn't get they're going to be people who are growing up, learning how to blast away at Islam, and I believe they're going to come along after us, and they're going to do it better than we ever have, right? And that's just going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh wait, Tippy Bear gave you a trophy here.
What did Tippy Bear do?
She gave you a little trophy here. You'll see it on the screen here, and you're on a delay. You're on a
delay.
Yeah, I am. You're on no delay through Skype, but you're on a delay if you're looking at the screen. All right. So anyway, a ton more comments. Nina, Jordanian Christian, both. Steven Universe. Yeah. There are a few people who say they didn't see them. Well, that's good because we are going to discuss the issue now. And the main reason we wanted to come discuss this now was to make sure everyone's clear on it, but also to give Muslims a chance, if they want to raise any objections to what we've said or defend their prophet, we'll give you the opportunity, right? We'll give you that chance. We'll share your comments here. Now, if experience is any guide here, I'm guessing that the approach will be to change the subject and to start, attacking something else or something like this, or start personal attacks or something like that, and not to actually defend Muhammad. But I'm hoping I'm wrong, and that some Muslims will actually stand up for their prophet and show that there's actually nothing wrong with anything that Muhammad did in the issues we brought up today. So AP, why don't you tell everyone what the issue is that we discussed today, and then we can look at some comments, and then also pull up the sources after that.
Definitely. So the main issue that we wanted to discuss, that we discussed in our videos today, was that according to a most authentic report in the fundamental sources of Islam, the Hadith, where you learn basically everything about Islam, where you learn more about Islam than you learn in the Quran. In those sources, it is very credibly reported that Muhammad one day walks outside. So he's walking outside one day, and he sees a woman. That's all. He sees a woman, and then he goes home to his wife's, and goes home to his seventh wife Zainab's home. He finds her tanning leather, and he immediately goes and has sex with her. And
Hey! One second. Little side note here. Someone brought up in the comments section, and I said towards the end of my video that people notice things that I didn't notice, and several things that people have pointed out were things that I didn't notice. But one of the things they pointed out was, in areas where you're tanning animal skins, the smell is horrible. And I had totally forgot about that because I went to buy a leather backpack on the island of Crete when I was young. My dad was stationed in the Navy there, and so I went there for the summer. And I went and bought a leather backpack, and the smell was just terrible. It was awful, everything. And the backpack stunk for like 6 months. And so, yes, there is this horrible smell around. So people were pointing out that Muhammad shows up, and this place that he's in would have just been absolutely reeking, and Zainab would have been smelling terrible. And he's just like, "Come on, let's go. I'm ready." And so anyway, that's some weird stuff. But go ahead. I wanted to throw in there before because that was an interesting point.
No, that's a good input actually. We're also talking about Arabia. It is so hot. It is extremely hot. It is the middle of the desert, and sweat, smell, everything, everywhere. That's really an additional detail that we should take into consideration when talking about Muhammad's incident here. But what happens is that Muhammad finds his wife Zainab tanning leather, and he doesn't care at all because he has an emergency here, and he takes his wife, goes and has sex with his wife.
The emergency is in my thawb. That was actually my favorite line. There's an emergency. What? It's in my thawb.
So he relieves his desire on his wife, and after he has sex, after he's done with sex, he goes out to his followers, to his devout people, and tells them, the woman comes and goes in the shape of a devil. If one of you goes outside and sees a woman, he should go to his wife, because that will relieve what he feels in his heart. There are so many problems with this. Mm-hmm. One of those problems is that this guy is supposed to be the holy prophet, the absolutely morally supreme prophet of Islam. He's supposed to be the most patient, the most pious person. Muslims, when they believe in him, when they follow him, think that he's this guy of absolute self-control. The most reliable man, Allah's chosen person, the most perfect human to ever walk the face of the earth, whom everyone needs to take as an example, whom you need to send prayers and blessings upon, and that you need to imitate every moment in your life. But this guy is someone who just walks outside and at the sight of a random woman, at the normal sight of a woman, freaks out, loses it, needs to go home to one of his 9 wives and immediately have sex with her so he can calm down again, and then goes out and even calls that woman a devil. So he is not the devil for being unable to control himself in front of a woman who probably doesn't even have any idea what's going on, who probably doesn't even know that she has seduced him with her mere existence. He's not the devil, but she's the devil.
She's the devil.
Just for existing.
Her fault.
Just for walking outside.
Her fault. Blame her. She should have dressed up like a ninja or something like that, because that would be the only way to protect men from her. So notice, gosh, it's not the man's fault.
It's also so much in accordance with Islam's typical view of a woman that is also very dominant in Islamic society, where a woman basically serves as a baby factory, and this person or this object that you go to relieve your sexual desires with. That's basically what's going on in this hadith. That's what the woman serves for. You see a different woman outside, a completely normal woman outside. There is no detail about what the woman did or what she said or whatever, because there is no detail necessary. He only sees a woman, and then he goes to his wife and relieves his sexual desire or what he has in his heart with his wife. The detail is also what he has in his heart. He says that will relieve what you feel in your heart. But what does he feel in his heart? What does Muhammad feel in his heart? What is it?
Lust.
Urgently.
Hence the lustful prophet.
Yes, absolutely.
The lustful
lusting
prophet.
after a random woman outside. Lusting after a random woman. Seriously, that was my input. That was kind of my main point in my video, which was, if you are a woman, or even if you're not a woman, I mean, but especially if you are a woman, just imagine that this old man who is nearly 60 years old walks past you on the street and sees you. You are completely normally dressed. You're not wearing anything fancy or whatever.
Yeah, he's not at the strip club. And you're not swinging around a pole here. You are just some woman who's going to buy groceries or something like that, dressed modestly because it's 7th century Medina, and I have to get home. Zainab, stop what you're doing. Stop the press. Stop the hide. Tanning. Get in here. There's an emergency. Ah! And it's amazing. I've never met anyone who had that problem, let alone, a 60-year-old, right? There's people have lots of issues, when it comes to sex and stuff, but somebody who just cannot walk down the street. That is some wild stuff, and I'd be interested in some feedback from our Muslim friends. All right, couple comments here, and then we'll continue. Callum S. said, one of these days, Acts 17 apologetics will make my day and give me a shout out.
Whoa.
You just got it, Callum S. You just got it. That was a shout out. And then, wait, there's this other comment. Where did it go? Where did that guy go? Okay, I'm looking at Jack, because everyone's seen Jack. He was here earlier. So I was downstairs feeding my kid. My wife was out with my son. So I was downstairs feeding my son and so on. And I come back up, and this guy's in the chat yelling, David blocked me. He blocked me because I disagreed with his view of the Trinity. Trinity's a lie. Trinity, people who believe in the Trinity throw out logical thought. He's flipping out in there. So he's just blasting away at me for blocking him and saying, no one can read this. And I'm reading it right off the page. And so anyway, I hadn't even seen his comments, and he's blasting away at me for blocking him, and he's going, can anyone see me? Can anyone see me? Right? Everyone can see him. So I say I'm going to block him, any last words, and then he doesn't respond, so I let it slide. I don't block him. And now he's in the chat again saying, if you don't agree with David regarding the Trinity, you go boom, boom. How do you think you're posting a comment here, Jack? If I'm blocking, you know who I do block? One, I'll block people who are just like trolling with stuff that has nothing to do with the topic, and they just can't stop posting anything else, right? People who come in here and start arguing about flat Earth for no reason when it has nothing to do with anything. People who start coming in here spouting off about Jews when it has nothing to do with the topic. And of course, people who come in here, Trinity. Well, it has nothing to do with it. And then especially, number one on my list of block people who falsely accuse me of blocking them when I didn't block them. That's kind of number one. So say goodbye, Jack, to everyone.
Maybe that's his method. That's his attempt of being noticed by you.
Yeah, because you probably. I'm assuming you get this all the time because I get it all the time, right? I'll be scrolling through the comments and I'll see one by a Muslim. I refuted everything David said, but he blocked all my comments. I'm like, what? Yeah. What? I block people for trolling and things like that, but it'll be someone, I didn't block your comment. If you can't find your own comment, if there are like thousands of comments and you can't find the comments, you don't blame me for not being able to find your own comments. Don't blame me if you're too stupid to find your own comments. 9 times, like 49 times out of 50, the people are going, you blocked me, or people I've never even read a comment from them. But again, occasionally I do block people like Jack here. Jack here is getting blocked. All right.
What also happens is that they leave a comment on one of your videos and it doesn't show up because it goes into the
spam.
Spam folder by YouTube automatically, and then they think you blocked them because they can't find their comment anymore. Or you deleted their comment, and it's weird. It's a YouTube problem.
Because a couple months ago, I made it so that people can't post links in the comments, and I did that because people kept posting porn links. Right? They would do it in the chat, and it was Muslims. It was Muslims doing it to try and fill up the chat with porn links to just distract everyone from us blasting away at Muhammad. So it was actually requested by people, hey, can you turn that off so that they can't post links? So I turned it off. But now when people post a comment with a link, it goes into the spam folder or something like that, and then they freak out and say that I blocked them. Anyway, Hey, here's someone who's going off topic, but not in some weird, ridiculous way. Just asking a question. Would probably be perfectly happy if we ignored it and moved on. But since this is nice, we'll just let this go here. Thoughts on the Joker movie and the Kanye album? I'm guessing, AP, you haven't listened to the Kanye album. Did you see the Joker? Did you see the Joker movie?
I did see it.
What did you think?
Well, a lot of people told me it is a masterpiece. It is like one of the best movies ever. It draws a lot of attention to mental health issues and this and that, and being an outcast in society and stuff like that. So I had my expectations actually higher from the beginning before I went to the movie. Mm-hmm. I have to say, in that regard, in that it draws attention to being to being an outcast, or to being bullied, or to being mentally have mental problems and so on. It is not as high as I thought it would be, because people kind of really push it up for some reason. But in a different way, I think the movie is artistically brilliant. It is. Mm-hmm. I think it's a masterpiece in many ways, and I'm no fan of superhero or supervillain movies. I haven't watched. I probably didn't watch more than one or two DC movies, But this one was it was really fantastic. I loved almost every moment of it. I loved the whole musical. The whole music of it, how they played with the colors, how they interpreted the entire story, how shocking it was, how blunt it was in what the Joker does as a reaction, especially in the last half hour. I was really very, very impressed, mm-hmm. and I was very surprised that I was impressed with a movie about superheroes and supervillains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought it was awesome because. It's kind of rough coming up with new takes on the Joker, right? Like, Jack Nicholson stood out because it wasn't the goofy prankster of the Batman TV show, so everyone was shocked that he's actually a total psychopath. Now, what's interesting is that there have been the Joker has been in different eras of comic books. So he's been a total like sadistic psychopath, and he's been just a sort of harmless prankster and stuff like that. So you kind of find that in the shows and so on. You have the kind of gangster, you have the kind of loner who's just a homicidal maniac, and then you have the prankster kind of guy. But once Jack Nicholson has done the Joker, it's pretty hard. It's going to be pretty hard to top. So Heath Ledger comes along, he does it in a totally different way. So then how are you gonna, if you're gonna play the Joker after that, you kind of have to play it in a different way, or it's going to look like you're copying one or the other. Yeah. So what's his face in Suicide Squad? I think he could have done fine. I just thought the script and the directing sucked. So I think he could have done better if they'd had a better script and so on. But he was doing it in a different way, which is rough. But then so what in the world is Joaquin Phoenix going to do? And they just had a totally different way, which doesn't really fit, because the Joker, he went insane from being dumped in a vat of chemicals, and he's like one of the most brilliant people in the world. He's so intelligent that he has this sense of hyper reality, where if you recall in The Dark Knight, where he would talk about how he got his scars. They didn't explain it, but they would talk about how he got his scars, and he would give like different stories on the origin of the scars on his face. Once it was his dad, or he did it to himself to make his wife happy and things like that. But that actually fits in with the classic Joker, in that he can actually wake up and decide what kind of person he wants to be, and then invent the past. And he's not lying about it. That's the past he's invented for himself. He's just inventing reality as he goes along. And so this Joker doesn't fit that, the sort of awkward, just messed up dude who is really just mad that he's been victimized by society and things like that, or forgotten by society. And so it's kind of like a whiny, I'm getting back at you, rather than, the classic Joker. I've been wanting to make a video about this because I got requests. Hey, can you make a video like a psychopath explaining the Joker?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about doing that, but this guy, the Joker, the idea of the Joker is he discovers that everything is like a joke. It's all hilarious to him, right? Because he's gone mental, and everything is just hilarious to him. That all the stuff that people take seriously, all the stuff that people do, it's just one big joke to him. But he feels like he's the only one who gets the joke. And so he's constantly doing things to try and help other people see how ridiculous this all is so that they can be in on the joke. I'm sure you guys have had an experience where, there's a joke in a movie or something like that, and you get it, but the person beside you is like, I don't get it. And you're trying to explain it and they just don't get it. Well, that's how the Joker feels constantly. Whereas Joaquin Phoenix is kind of a whiny, I want to get revenge on you guys. But, that aside, I thought it was a phenomenal movie. So that was that. And the other thing, the Kanye album, we listened to that when we drove with me, Vocab, John McRae, Anthony Rogers, Sam Shamoon. We listened to that when we drove from Phoenix to San Diego. I thought that was a good album. I'm more concerned with Kanye. He seems like a guy who flips around a lot. So it's like, hey, I don't know what you're going to believe. Like a year or two from now, I want to see how stable you are. But the album, I thought the album was good. All right, what was that?
I listened to a little bit of his album. I was kind of, I don't know. It was nice to listen to, except the whole weird references in one of those songs about Sunday and Chick-fil-A and whatever.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
But I don't know. I saw his the things he talks about on stage with Joel Osteen and all that stuff, and mm-hmm. I thought I'm no one to speak. I'm not a Christian, or I'm not. I've never been in or outside of this.
But you're going to tell us what Orthodox Christians should think. But go ahead.
I would say Christians really need to be careful trusting Kanye West, because I see something very troubling when I see him on stage talking about, having a weird speech next to Joel Osteen. And I feel like he's not really doing it because he has been consciously, through so much thought, seriously convinced of Christianity and of the truth or this and that. He does it for some other reason that I don't want to judge him for, or don't want to predict. But I don't think people should trust in. I don't know. You get what I mean.
No, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like, you just can't tell. Someone's just had some sort of conversion experience, whether it's going to last. Even biblically, Jesus talks about people who, he says the sower goes out to sow, and some of the seed falls along the path, and it just doesn't sink in because the birds come and get it up. But he says some seed falls in like, shallow soil or rocky soil or something like that, and it can spring up quickly, but as soon as the sun comes out, it doesn't have deep roots, and so it just withers. And other seed, it does sink in, and so you have you produce a crop and so on. So when you see someone spring up as a new Christian, you just don't know. You don't know if it's going to last. And so Kanye, I hope he's done just going in 90 different directions, and I hope things. But yeah, it's kind of a time will tell thing, right? We'll get a better idea a year from now. Yeah. We'll have an even better idea 2 or 3 years from now. But yeah, we got to see what happens before we understand his spiritual state. But I thought exactly what you thought. I was like, Chick-fil-A thing, kind of weird. Yeah, but a lot of it I thought was good. Oh, hey, check this out. So we have a ton of comments still. You can see how far behind I am in the comments where people are still. I'm still back where people were saying whether they liked both our videos and stuff. So a lot of them said like them both. But here you go. Irene says AP was better. What?
Thank you.
And we did have cool comments from people saying that we help them when they're talking to Muslims. And
that is awesome. That is the best thing that we can get out of this.
Yeah. So. And that's really the goal, guys, right? Like, because I could go out and just talk to a bunch of Muslims and try to show them the problems with their prophet and so on. And AP could go out and do that. But the reason we do this online is if we can talk to 10,000 people or 20,000 people or 50,000 people, and all those people learn that, then that is a lot of people doing way, way, way more stuff than we could ever hope to do on our own.
Absolutely. What do you think about the Cybertruck? Just kidding. I don't want to go. I don't want to go off topic anymore.
Dorgan said, David, if you only knew how I debate now because of your study, it's been uplifting to say the least, being able to save a Muslim that clearly doesn't know anything about their own book. And yeah, the guys, that's something to keep in mind. Back in the day, before I started really interacting a lot with Muslims, I thought that they were not very knowledgeable about their religion because they understood, hey, we got to do Ramadan, we got to go to the mosque on Friday. And they understood that. So you think they're really knowledgeable when they're not. They just absorbed a few basic practices, and you find out they know next to nothing about their prophet. And that's what's cool, because it comes down to us, right? I'm not talking us as in me and AP. I'm talking about all of us here. It comes down to us to spread the truth about Islam, because Muslims just aren't going to hear it from their leaders. They're not going to hear it from Hollywood. They're not going to hear it from politicians. They're not going to hear it from educators. They're not going to hear it from the media. They're not going to hear it from anyone if they don't hear it from us. So it's up to us. So we've got a lot of work to do.
That's what pushed me to go out there and to start talking about Islam, because I look at the media. The media is just completely ignorant and deluded about the whole thing. I see Muslim apologists lie their way through the crowds into the minds of gullible Western idiots. I'm sorry, idiots who think that they're dealing with a misunderstood religion of peace. That we are just being too judgmental about, and so on. So I thought these people are lying. I know exactly, what this religion is about. I know exactly how it looks from the inside. I need to go out there and do something, and that's the main purpose. By the way, something that I forgot to say, that I wanted to say earlier, when you said you didn't actually, you didn't meet anyone who is like Muhammad, who sees a woman in the street and who loses it and wants to go and have sex with his wife. I have an objection there from my side. I met a lot of such people, actually, and I wanted to.
Were they Muslims?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to put that into the video, actually, but I didn't want to go too much on about it, because I wanted to stay more on topic, more on making a kind of an analysis of Muhammad's mindset and comparing it to modern society. But thinking of it, I talked about this before in the past quite often. I saw a lot of such people actually in the Muslim world, in the Islamic world, and even in Turkey, which is supposed to be a very modern country. Turkey is definitely by far better than many other Islamic countries in so many ways. They are more westernized, more developed, more rational, and so on. But it is quite normal in Turkey, for example, that a woman walks outside completely normally dressed, completely normally like a woman, not revealing in any way, and she's basically being mass attacked in the minds of every man, of every male who is out there on the street. I did this thing once when I was in Turkey. I might have talked about that before. My wife visited me in Turkey, and we were in Turkey with my wife, and we were sitting at this public place, at this restaurant, and close to the restaurant there was a little shop. And outside the shop, there were like a lot of men sitting there, like 20, 25 people, men sitting there. And I saw from the distance that a woman who was completely normally dressed, not in any way revealing, not in any way seductive, was walking toward that shop. So I know exactly what was going to happen. It was as if if you look from the outside, it's as if I can tell the future. I said to my wife,
hence the apostate prophet.
Yes. I said to my wife, look at that crowd, focus on that crowd, look down at that shop. What will happen now is that this woman will walk inside into the shop. All the men will turn around and look at her while she's walking inside. Then they will turn around and do whatever they're doing again. And then when she walks out of the shop, when she's leaving, they will once again, all of them, turn around and look at her until she is out of sight, or until she's out of that space. So my wife turns around and starts watching, and everything happens exactly as I said. And she was like, she was surprised. She was like, what is this? I said, this is quite normal here. This is nothing. You see, if you converse with people outside, there is because of this Islamic mentality, because of the sexual frustration that comes with Islam, that comes with adopting the sick mindset of Muhammad, who was who was very crazy in so many ways. By adopting his mindset and turning it into a society and turning it into the embodiment of his mindset, people become sexually frustrated, become sexually aggressive, become extremely misogynistic, so much that they basically consider women as objects, and take advantage of them wherever they can, or just treat them like that out in the street. So long story short, in fact, I did meet a lot of people who were in a way like Muhammad. And one more thing, just very quickly, I even talked about this topic briefly before in one of my oldest videos, which I called The Pervert Prophet, I believe, which was...
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
Yeah, that was one of my most provocative videos at the beginning of the YouTube channel. So recently, a Muslim apologist tried to respond to that video, and in that video, I also mentioned this hadith at the end, how Muhammad sees a woman outside and he goes crazy and he goes to his wife and whatever. And this Muslim apologist evaluates the whole video and comes to that point, and he honestly doesn't understand what the problem is. He really can't understand what the problem is, and he's like, "So what happened? The Prophet Muhammad doesn't rape her, doesn't attack her, doesn't grope her, doesn't do this. He just goes home and has sex with his wife, which is completely normal. That's what everyone would do. But that's not what everyone would do. People don't just go home in an urgency and have sex with their wife because they can't take the sight of a woman outside."
Yeah, and
that's all.
Yeah, and you know what you were talking about, how this is tied to Islam. What we were mentioning earlier about blaming the woman. It's the woman's fault if she has not been dressed in a certain way, and then you combine that with the greatest moral example of all time lost his mind when he saw a woman who again would have probably been pretty conservatively dressed, and then combined with he's basically, if you grow up in a society where women are always covered up, and then all of a sudden you see one who's not, well, you've never learned how to act around a woman who's not wearing that sort of clothing, and so you could just lose your mind. And so say what you want about Western culture, we don't lose our minds when a pretty woman walks by. Why? Because we've seen plenty of pretty women in the past, and where we don't lose our minds anymore. Hey, speaking of what you just said about sort of Muslim responses and not getting it, I mentioned when AP originally brought up this passage, about 2 weeks ago or something like that, that I had written a blog post about it years ago, but it never made a video about it. But check this out, and I'll show you a little bit of what you were just talking about here. So I'm pulling up the screen here. So this is what I wrote. Notice this was very short, nothing compared to like the longer videos that we're making. But the post was just Sahih Muslim 3240, Muhammad sees a woman. And I say, here's an interesting hadith. Sahih Muslim 3240. So now we'll actually read the source that we're talking about here. Jabir reported that Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, saw a woman. I love how generic that is, right? It's not he saw this scantily clad Victoria's Secret model. He saw a woman. and so he came to his wife Zainab as she was tanning a leather and had sexual intercourse with her. He then went to his companions and told them, the woman advances and returns in the shape of a devil. It's her fault. So when one of you sees a woman, he should come to his wife, for that will repel what he feels in his heart. And I write, the lesson Muhammad draws is that when a man sees a woman and desires her, he should go have sex with his wife to satisfy his urges. But think about the irony here. Muhammad sees a woman and desires her, so he goes to Zainab, a woman who divorced her husband, Muhammad's adopted son, because she learned that Muhammad had desired her. Notice also that according to Jesus, Muhammad repeatedly sinned by committing adultery in his heart. Matthew 5:27-28, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Apparently, Muhammad's numerous wives weren't enough to keep his desires in check. So just notice, ladies and gentlemen, Muslims claim to respect Jesus. Jesus just condemned your prophet, right? Jesus just condemned your prophet. But check out this response. This is the first response.
That's the corrupt Bible. That's not. Christians have changed that.
Oopsie, Quran says no one can change Allah's words. But yeah, there are a lot of Muslim responses here, but let's just check out the first one here from Kayam. He says, David, here is some news for you. I'm sure you already know it, but Muslims do not believe that Muhammad was divine or an angel. We believe that he was 100% human. Any normal male can and would feel desire when looking at a pretty female. Notice he's saying any man would be like this. And what are we talking about? We're talking about a guy who sees a woman on the street and then has to run home. So he's saying everyone's like this. So that's exactly what you're saying, right? They're like, what? I don't see a problem. This is totally normal, right? And what did Muhammad do? Did he commit adultery? Well, according to Jesus, he did, just to be clear. No, he went back home to his lawful wife and fulfilled his desire. I think this is a fantastic example for males the world over. If this sort of practical advice was given by Jesus, peace be upon him, rather than casting out your eyes if they cause you to sin, then perhaps fornication would not be so common in Christian-dominated countries. Regards, Kaya. So he's saying this is a fantastic example of ladies. Just think about this. Who was in Muhammad's mind when he ran home to Zainab? The woman, the other woman, right? So just imagine that your husband comes home. He says, "I have to have sex with you," but it's because he's thinking about this other woman. Do you think that's a great example? Because our Muslim friends here think it's a great example that he set there. So yeah, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on that. Hearing the thoughts of the ladies on this one.
I really want to bring this closer to the women. That's why I kind of try to make that. I try to ask women to imagine that we're dealing with an old man. I mean, how would you treat that, you as a woman in today's society, in today's time? How would you treat the situation if you walked past a man outside, a man that you know, that you respect, that you greet out of respect, and later you learn that. And you don't even do anything weird. You just walk past this guy, and you're completely normally dressed as a regular woman. And later you learn that this guy was lusting after you because he saw you outside, and maybe because you looked at him, because you greeted him, or maybe you didn't even greet him. There is no detail. You just walked past him, and you learn later that this guy was actually lusting after you. That your appearance disturbed him so much that he needed to go home and have sex with one of his 9 wives, and that he even went to his people and told them. Then the woman comes and goes in the shape of a devil, and you learn that he said that, and you remember that you walked past this guy earlier that day. What would you think? Seriously?
Yeah. There are all sorts of issues like that we would need to get the perspective of women. Like, what would you think about that, women? And also all kinds of other issues like Muslim women. What do you think about having to share your husband with his other wives in paradise, but also with his very many specially designed sex machines? You're one of many, and you have to stand there waiting for him to call on you, but you're competing with all of these specially designed sex machines.
It is actually a problem. Every now and then, when I research a topic about Islam, about these things, or when I just researched in order to make notes for future videos or whatever, I go on these public forums. I go online on public spaces where women talk or women ask questions, where Muslim women ask questions. Publicly accessible platforms, and I see this a lot, that Muslim women have this problem, this question, I don't feel well thinking about the fact that my husband in heaven will have numerous virgins. How could I possibly accept that? How could Allah expect me to accept that? That's a problem that comes up so often among Muslim women. They kind of make it look like in public that this is not a problem at all, but it is. Muslim women are really troubled by these weird things in Islam.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm just going to look at a few of these comments here. Go through this really quickly. Stephen Easter says, when he's describing what they like, he says, Apostate has that sarcastic style everyone likes.
Thank you.
Do you have a sarcastic style?
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed. Niles Guy says, when I was talking about it, younger generation coming after us, he says, younger generation like Vocab. No, Vocab acts like a little kid, but Vocab I think he's a year younger than I am. So Vocab is basically a senior citizen on the internet. We're talking about a real young generation. Mr. Nobody says, hey, David, is Apostate Prophet going to get a part 2 in Muhammad's Boom Boom Room? Maybe bring up the topics from your recent videos. AP already has a part 2. It's not him. His character's dead. He's dead. He was brutally murdered by his former prophet. But yes, he is making another appearance. Given his German accent, he is appearing as a Dr. Sigmund Freud, who psychoanalyzes Muhammad before getting blown up.
Are we revealing that? Good.
Oh, whoopsie. Well, yeah. And finally, Tippy Bear said, how do I get to your Zoom? This is for me, AP here, and Vocab. So should be able to find it on any one of our Patreon pages. All right, what do we got? We got about 15 minutes left. All right, Oh, this is actually a good one. Guys, I see 2 lists of comments. I see these ones where I try to go through as slowly as I can, but you can see these comments are from like 25, 30 minutes ago. And then there are the ones that kind of scroll here and I kind of stop as I go. But we've gotten this several times already, so wanted to bring this up. Thoughts on the terror attack in London? And I'll just say what I think it's looking like. It's looking like what it's looking like an Islamic terrorist attack, but I haven't seen it confirmed yet. And I stopped reading the articles a couple hours ago because I was doing other things. But it sounded like what sources were reporting. So not like the government hadn't come out and said it yet, but sources were reporting that this is a guy who had already been locked up for a terrorist attack in the past and then was released and then went out and did this. So, yeah, basically I've been waiting for more information to come in for authorities to come out and say, this is exactly the case. This is his name. This is what he was convicted of before. This is his ideology or what he was fighting for, before I comment on it. What do you think, AP? Have you seen anything more than that?
I saw it earlier. I didn't. I saw a photo, I believe, of a bearded man who clearly looked like an Islamic jihadist. Was laying on the ground, shot dead, I believe. And I don't know. I also see now that there are ISIS links almost confirmed, but I don't know. I didn't see the end results of the investigation, but I know that Ali Dawah announced earlier that he was going to the crime scene to prevent Islamophobes from taking advantage of this terrorist attack. And yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you know what really bothers me, because I see it every day. I see it every day. I see this. I see comments from like American Muslims saying, "Oh, given the way things are going here, we're terrified at the direction things are going. We're not safe." And I'm saying this because I saw a video earlier today, and it was from a news report, and a Muslim woman was on there, and she's saying, given the bigoted climate in America, she's scared to wear her hijab because of what might happen to her. Now, my view on that is, I basically have no right to tell you what you're scared of. If you've seen something in the news and something, people were yelling something about Muslims, or someone, yelled something about you or something like that, or, someone said something to you, or someone said something to you online and said they hate you because you're a Muslim. It's none of my business on whether to tell you whether you should be scared or not. My problem is the hypocrisy, right? They'll say, "Oh, so-and-so said something, about Muslims online, and therefore we're all in a state of fear and terror." But if there's a terrorist attack and non-Muslims are being killed at random by a jihadi yelling Allahu Akbar, and someone says, "Oh, I'm scared of this ideology, I'm scared of what it's doing," there's sort of a united Muslim voice of, no, you're a bigot, you're an Islamophobe, how dare you? Now, why? I would like the Muslims to explain. I know you're watching. I would like the Muslims to explain, why is it completely fair and just for you to say, I'm concerned about some of the people in this world and the ideology they have and how that could impact me. And so I'm getting a little worried right now, because I would not tell you I would not tell you, hey, you can't be worried about that. Of course, there are a lot of horrible people in this world. It would never occur to me to tell you you can't be worried about that. But how do you then turn to us? And no matter how many terrorist attacks, no matter how many buildings are destroyed, no matter how many planes come down, no matter how much of any of this happens, if we say we're at all worried about the ideology of the people slaughtering all these people in the name of Allah, we're horrible, horrible people for that. What? So I'm confused. Why is it okay because it looks like double standards. It looks like hypocrisy. It looks like you get to complain about one thing, but we don't get to say anything. And there is a place where we have to keep our mouths shut, and you get to say whatever you want. These would be countries dominated by Sharia, but we're not like that. So I'm just wondering what the rationale is. What do you think, AP?
I think every Muslim who talks about feeling unsafe because of Islamophobia or anti-Muslim sentiments or whatever is a complete hypocrite. You are all hypocrites. You are all liars and hypocrites, or you are brainwashed. They play with your perception, and you are being brainwashed into thinking that you have something to be scared of. And mostly it also comes from people who grew up in the West, who grew up in Western countries, in America, in Canada, or in the UK, or wherever. And they think that because in the media some people say that they don't like Islam, that they themselves are somehow threatened outside, that they as Muslims are somehow threatened and somehow need to feel unsafe. This is complete stupidity. This is hypocrisy. That there is, we just need to look at statistics just to see that that there is no place in the world safer for Muslims than the West. Mm-hmm. It's very clear to say this.
That's why everyone wants to come to the West. They want to come to the West, yes. Right?
Muslims feel safer in the West than they feel in the Muslim world. They feel safer in the West than they feel anywhere else. This is very, very clear. This can be proven over and over again with statistics, but they don't want to talk about statistics. They want to talk about feelings, about how their feelings are hurt, about how Donald Trump 2 years ago said something about how Islam hates us and whatever. They want to talk about these things. They don't want to talk about actual facts, about statistics, about reality. Go to the Muslim world, to the Islamic world. Criticize Islam. Say something about Islam. Say I don't believe in Islam because I don't like Islam. Say I'm here to spread the true religion, which is Christianity, or I'm here to spread atheism because people shouldn't believe in Islam, or say anything else that contradicts with Islam, and you will be hated. You will be threatened. You might really need to take care of your safety if you do that in the Islamic world. That is where you are in danger. You are nowhere in danger as a Muslim. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing. You don't need to be afraid of anything. If people express concern about Islam and about Islamic violence in the West, then they do that because they are honestly concerned about it, because they are honestly concerned about maybe about their identity, about their safety, about their neighborhood, about their country, about people they see on the news dying every day from an Islamic terrorist attack. Instead of talking about how you, as a dumb hijabi in America, feel unsafe going to school or whatever, talk about countering these Islamist terrorist attacks, and talk about solving an actual problem. Talk about the prevention of the taking of lives. Talk about stopping the oppression and the persecution of minorities in the Islamic world, because nowhere in the world are minorities more oppressed than in the Islamic world. This is another fact that can be verified over and over again. In Pakistan, in Egypt, and in so many other countries, in Sudan, in most of these Islamic countries, minorities don't feel safe, can't properly speak out. Even in the most modernized countries, like Turkey, for example, Christians don't have a proper voice. That is where people are oppressed. That is where people need to be afraid because of their beliefs or their identity. Not America. Mm-hmm. Be glad that you are in America. Be glad that you are in the West. I'm certainly happy, and I haven't experienced any form of racism or hate or whatever it is anywhere in America at all due to my appearance or my name.
All right, so you actually have we pointed out two kinds of hypocrisy there, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you are a Muslim and you're saying, man, with all these people who are upset about Islam, I'm worried that someone's just going to go on a killing spree, okay. If you want to be worried, I'm not going to tell you not to be worried. But the hypocrisy, we're pointing out the hypocrisy there. If it's rational and just for you to be worried that someone, that you're in danger because there are people out there who want to kill you, and it's very clear that there are Islamic jihadis out there who want to kill us, why do we have to keep our mouths shut about that? But you can be on the news complaining about all the bigotry against you. That's one. And then as AP pointed out, what about Muslim lands? If you think you've got it rough here, imagine being a Christian in Pakistan, where if you even get in an argument with a Muslim, they'll throw you in jail on trumped up blasphemy charges, right? Why is there no uproar over here among Muslims to go and protect Christian groups or Yazidis or anyone else who's being horribly persecuted in the Muslim world? So we're just not buying it. If you are concerned as a Muslim, but you call anyone who's concerned about your religion a bigot and an Islamophobe, you're just a flat out hypocrite. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely.
Riaz says, what about Mirza Ghulam Ahmed in the Boom Boom Room? That's someone, he won't be coming up in this first set of this first collection of 25, but most likely in the next set of 25, because that is a very important figure and they will have a very important discussion. Just to give everyone a heads up, we've got the ones we've got recorded. We have Muhammad meets Sigmund Freud. We have Muhammad meets Moses. We have Muhammad meets R. Kelly. We have Muhammad meets Michael Jackson. We have one or two more that I'm probably forgetting right now. And the ones I want to record in December just to get them out. But, and Muhammad meets Darth Vader. That'll be coming out right before the Star Wars movie comes out.
Did you do that already?
Yeah, Muhammad meets... I want to record Muhammad meets Imran Khan, because that guy just annoys me with what's going on with him blocking stuff. And little spoiler... Muhammad's going to be asking him, why is he banning all this stuff about him when it's true? And then Muhammad's going to be saying, this stuff is true. And then Imran Khan is going to try to lock him up on blasphemy charges. Muhammad's going to get locked up on blasphemy charges by Pakistan's prime minister. Oh, that's going to be classic. And of course, you want to get out. I got to go record Muhammad meets Santa Claus for Christmas and have to decide which kind of Grinch Muhammad is going to be. Maybe we'll have a classic Grinch song, but about Muhammad. You guys remember did you ever hear the Grinch song?
Me?
Yeah. I don't remember it because I was a kid, but it's something like you're a bad man, Mr. Grinch, and just all this stuff that's horrible about him. But yeah, I think I could re-sing the song, but all about Muhammad. Revelation 22:13 said the terror suspect is 28 years old, Usman Khan. He was convicted in 2012 for terrorism offenses and released from prison in December 2018 on license, the Metropolitan Police said. So if that's come out since I was reading, then yep, I'll probably be making a video about that. What about you, AP? Do you try to comment on every terrorist attack that comes on?
No, I don't. I'm trying not to do that anymore. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to comment on the whole terrorist stuff anymore for a variety of reasons. So you look down on people who would comment on these terrorist attacks, if people who make videos. Going into the origins of why these guys are slaughtering people in the name of Allah, you look down on that there are better things to do, the things that you're doing. Yeah, well, I'm better than that. So. Stop it. No, I don't know. It's a different topic. I don't know. For a variety of reasons, I stopped kind of talking about it. There's also been a change in the whole in how active these things have been. There was a time that we talked a lot about these things over and over again. A year ago or so. I don't know. It's currently out of season, I guess. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, as usual, we didn't get to the vast majority of comments. That's just how it is. Either we have to speak like the Micro Machine Man. I think he's after your time, AP. I mean, before your time. But the Micro Machine Man is this guy who did commercials, but he was a speed talker. He'd go, the Micro Machine, and then he'd give this whole commercial where he'd do 4 minutes worth of talk, but condense it in like 30 seconds. The guy had the world's record for being the fastest talker. But yeah, they just can't get through all of the comments. Yeah, and normally we sometimes we go longer than this. We go through like we go for hour and a half or 2 hours sometimes. But we do have a live hangout with our friends on Patreon. So we're going to get off now so we can make sure that we're all set up for that because we're using a different platform. Got to make sure everything is working properly. So AP, any final thoughts on the issue we brought up or anything else? Yeah,
I think I had a lot of.
You have no time constraints, but so go ahead, sir.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, no, everything's fine. I had a lot of rants. I'm kind of taking it easy now.
All right. So, what do you think about Muhammad now that you've really gone through the Muslim sources? Think he's a good guy?
Me? If I think he's a good guy?
My Aunt Maple. Who do you think I'm talking to?
I don't know. Why are you asking?
No, I know you. I could have been talking to the chat. But yeah, I'm asking you.
Well, I think Muhammad is a particularly decent person that is fairly, in a fair way and justly described in Muslim sources as the most perfect human to ever walk the face of the earth, and whom Allah loves very much. And Sufis even think that Allah created the entire universe for Muhammad. That's a belief that is very popular among Sufis, among people like that. I used to go into those corners too, like, whoa, Allah created all of us just because of Muhammad. He's that kind of special. He's that special. Yeah. And so there's definitely, therefore, no fault in him just seeing a random woman outside and then losing his control physically and mentally over his reproductive functions. That's all I want to say. I have full respect for the holy prophet of Islam, and I would never want to disrespect him in any way.
Yep, it is the religion with the God who's absolutely obsessed with satisfying the sexual desires of his final prophet. And that's a religion for you if you're a total pervert. A couple more Boom Boom Room comments here, just because we got a lot of them. Greg J says, David, if you want to have Zucker Nike in the Boom Boom Room, consider inviting Vidu Viz. Yeah, that's already part of the plan. I haven't talked to him yet, but yeah, he is going to get an invitation to play Dr. Zucker Nike in the Boom Boom Room, because that would give Zucker Nike a ton of opportunities to tell Muhammad what he really meant in all of these things, and to tell Allah what he really meant in all of these sources. First and last says Muhammad meets Sam Shamoun. Yeah, we are planning on Muhammad meets Sam Shamoun, but Sam has already agreed to play the Black Stone. So I'm gonna build a frame, and I'm gonna cover it in silver, and then we're gonna cover Sam's head in shoe polish, and he's gonna have his head there, and we'll probably have him like foaming at the mouth and stuff. And this is actually relevant because in the Muslim sources, the Black Stone is actually conscious and will testify at the judgment. So it's gonna be talking. So we finally get to hear the Black Stone talking and doing his best to kiss Muhammad. So we've got all that. Got all that coming up. Sam is also going to probably play Hulk Hogan in one of them because he does an epic Hulk Hogan presentation. So yep, all that's coming up. Anyway, we have to get off now. AP and I were thinking we probably need to start doing this more regularly because it is cool coming in. We'll probably flip channels, like do it on his next time, do it on mine time after that and stuff like that. But yep, we have to cut off now. So greetings to everyone. For those of you who are going to be in the hangout with us over on Patreon, we will see you there in about 25 minutes.
Thank you all so much. Stay away from Islam.
And just remember, teamwork makes the dream work.